Okay, this is a video to replace the jet washers. These are the brand new ones, got off eBay for about £4. Excuse the traffic noise because I'm near the front of our house, near the road. For the ones that should fit in those slots there, which unfortunately got blocked up. Not very straightforward to clean the old ones out, and not a replacement warranty item, unfortunately. It's like a consumable, so let's get on with it. So we need to take the caps off the two windscreen washer bases and then use, I think it's a 13 or 14mm socket to remove the windscreen wipers. Then we need to take these clips off, there's 4 of them, and they just pop out quite easily with the screwdriver. The other one's in the corner there, that's another one there, and that's your other one there, so they pop off quite easily. Then we need to pull the whole kind of plastic cover off. Now this bit here on both sides is actually glued down, but I've already had this out to take the old jets out and it's stuck back down again, but that's the only thing you need to pull off that's kind of glued on, so to speak. And then well, let's get on with it. So first thing we're going to do is pop these clips out. Now I'm using just like it's a PC tool, for a prizer tool, but you can, they actually come out quite easily, I think, or they did last time. That's it. So you've got, when you put them back in, you've got to kind of pull that middle center bit out a little bit so you can push the feet back together, and then when you've got it in the hole you push it down and it spreads out. So that's, we're taking them out at the moment, but in order to put them back in, that's what we would do. So okay, the only thing I found tricky originally was getting these caps off. I was using this, but it wasn't quite the ticket, so I'm going to try a screwdriver. They're in quite hard now. That's come off fairly easily, but the first time I did it, it dropped into the engine, and luckily I was able to grab it. But if it goes down into the engine tray, you might have problems. A cheap Hilker socket set here, and it's a 14mm bolt on this. So we're just gonna, and kind of counterintuitively, you do need to bonnet up, because if you close the bonnet, you can't actually get access to the bolts at all. So, right, so we've got the nuts off the wipers now. Now, the first time I removed these, people say that pull that a little bit to relieve the pressure, but I had to lever it a bit because it goes down quite tight on the bolt. Might have to get the bonnet down for this one actually, so this one is, well, that's it. If you wind it this way, yeah, much easier. Okay, now we're going to take the plastic trim off. Now you will notice down here we've got a pipe, which is the original pipe that feeds in. Before you take off the trim the first time, don't worry about this because you can just disconnect it at the back, so we're not going to worry too much about that. It means pull that up and we can just basically, this bit near the windscreen is a bit tricky, but you can just pop that out so it's loose like that. Same on the other side. And you're not going to damage anything here, it just kind of comes out and sits back in that slot when you've finished really, and then kind of pull it up a little bit, it sits quite snug to the windscreen. And then that's it, we're out, and that just sits in that little channel there. So let's just get both sides out. It's stuck on the other side actually, a little bit of adhesive, a little bit of sticky stuff. That's it. Okay, so the last thing you need to disconnect to get to them the first time, let's replace them with this piece of plastic here, which is three Phillips screws. Look close in the hole. So we just take these 3 screws out. Oh, there's one. And this. just pops straight off. There's no clips or anything like that. It just kind of sits on there. It's a bit tricky lining the screw holes up when you put it back, but that's off now, and we've got access to the other jet as well. So now it's a case of popping in the brand new jets and then connecting the hose back up. So I showed at the start, these are brand new ones off eBay. They're not OEM parts. Given the OEM parts didn't even last 3 years, I don't see any reason not to try these cheap eBay jobs. I think we were talking about £18–19 for a set of 2 of the original Kia parts, so give these a go. Some people have had success soaking the old parts in various different solutions like patio cleaner, or could even be calcium, I suppose, that's built up inside them, but they're in. Now we just need to connect them up to the bottom. So we're just putting to get these out, by the way, I just used a screwdriver to push against these clips on the original ones to pop them out originally. It wasn't too hard, so the pipes aren't glued on, but they are quite tricky to pull off the first time, I find. So we'll get these on. Got to hold the back of the washer to kind of force the pipe into place, and you may have to clip it back into place from the top, but that is just a case of pushing it and it kind of pops in. So I think we're good to go there now. And we can do a test now. We can connect it all back up and see what kind of performance we're getting off the jets. Pause. Actually, start recording again.
I'm still recording.
So we're giving it a quick, without fixing it all back in place. It's the age-old thing. If you fixed it all back in, you'd probably forget you've missed something. So I've seen a nice successful test on the new cheapo jets now, so we're going to secure it all back in place. So a classic example of what I just talked about. I'd forgotten to put this back on the bottom, so not sure how essential it is, but Kia decided it ought to be on the car, so get that back in place, screw it on, and then we can attach everything back together. Cool. I've found that this seal tends to ride up a little bit when you're fitting it back, but it's quite straightforward to get it back in place. Just a little tip there, and then we're roughly in place now, not exactly. I found it easier to get back in if you put these parts in first, but these are probably the trickiest parts to actually get back in place. So they could almost need feeding in from underneath because of the edging we've got. Definitely the trickiest bit to get right, so let's back this off slightly. Wheels are back in place now. We've got that there. We need to remember to connect the pipe up, put our little trim clips in. They're quite straightforward, obviously wipers, bolts and caps, and then we're good to go really. Getting the bit over here lined up is probably the trickiest bit, but once you've got that, the rest just kind of pushes into place quite nicely, and then of course it's held in place by all the trim clips and bolts. So yeah, that seems to have done the trick. Pause speed. Like I said before, these can be a little bit tricky, so you need to have them extended out slightly, and then you push these feet together, and then if they're sufficiently together, we can get them in the original hole. This one's spread out a bit, there you go, it's nice and flush, and then you just press it to fix it in place. Rinse and repeat for the other ones. Some are easier than others. That one was nice and easy. So now it's a case of wipers back on, bolts on the wipers, and they're nearly ready, of course. So we're just tightening these back up. I've no idea what the torque rating is, but they were very tight when I first took them off, so kind of do a medium tightness. If you ever see your windscreen wipers wobbling, you know you didn't do it properly. That's pretty good, and then we just pop the caps back on. They tend to just push on, I think. Yeah, they push on. They're harder to get off than the hard to put back on. And that is all the trims and bits back on, so let's do the final test. And we have lift off and jets. I think the wipers are on okay.